What do you think, Al? Take a look ahead.
Yeah, let's take a look ahead.
What do we got?
I just see somebody in the chat saying we need another one of those Luque type bangers. I'm not. I don't. This one's too far away. I think it's in like June. But I know Miranda Maverick is fighting Macy Barber, and that I don't know what the line is on that fight, but take a small loan out and put it on Miranda Maverick because there's no way she's losing that fight. That fight's
man,
not.
that's an interesting one. What do we know what card that is? Because I'm looking ahead. I'm looking at right now. I'm looking at UFC 261, which maybe we should get into here because, I mean, we are talking about the rematch that I'm not sure if anybody wanted it outside of Kamaru Usman, Usman Masvidal. But Al, that is an interesting fight you're talking about. And you know what? I think money's come in on Macy Barber. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe that's backwards. To me, that seems backwards because I think Barber's been exposed. That was not a good performance we saw out of Barber in her last fight. Maverick on the up and up. Barber just seems to have kind of berserker power, not a whole lot of technique, feinting from 10 feet away. I really question the fight IQ. I don't know, man. Barber, that might be a done deal. 2-fight losing streak now. I think Maverick's going to end up running her over in that spot. But Al, let me ask you about this Kamaru Usman, Jorge Masvidal main event we have coming up at UFC 261. Like I said, the rematch. What do you think about this fight, Al?
This is a tough one to break down because if talking about people being exposed, I think that Masvidal is just riding the wave of that false perception, and a lucky knee on Ben Askren, and then it had a stoppage victory over Nate Diaz that probably that fight should not have been stopped. If that fight was in Vegas, it would have kept going, and that's when Diaz is at his best in those later rounds. And I don't know, like if you look at the first fight, the first fight was just like they, the promo is so right. The promo is what Usman says is he had a built-in excuse, and it's so true that Jorge had this built-in excuse, and even if he lost, it didn't matter, and it was a publicity thing basically, and I feel like he's gonna knock him out. I feel like Usman is gonna knock out Jorge Masvidal. Like,
damn.
I feel like the smart bet, like if you're looking at it by the numbers, I think the smart bet is the decision. But I think Masvidal is Usman. We've seen Usman angry, right? Angry at Colby. And that was a virtuoso performance. And he's not in that fight. He's leveled up so much further than he did in that fight based on what we saw against Gilbert Burns. So, I mean, and then, I know Usman had some injuries. Usman, I think he had a fracture in his foot or something going into the fight against Jorge. So it just says, like Jorge said, give me a full camp and I'll knock you out. Give Usman a full camp where it's not in the height of a pandemic on an island in the Middle East.
Good point.
And I think Usman, especially I think that this will be the fight where like Usman will probably bring his dad to for the first time since his dad has been out of prison. So there's no way Usman's gonna lose this fight. And I think he's gonna knock him out because Jorge, as good of a boxer as he might be, he's just not well-rounded enough against a guy like Kamaru, and Kamaru's just so much bigger than him, and it's not going to be it. And I feel like because Kamaru's going to be able to mix up the striking with the wrestling, and threaten that takedown, and that's what's going to set him up for that jab, and I feel like the jab, he's just going to eat him all day with that jab.
It's gnarly.
What do you think? What's your approach?
Yeah, I think I feel pretty much exactly the same way you do, Al. Kamaru Usman, listen, I've been yelling from the rooftops for a while now that even before this guy became the champion, I've been letting people know what I'm seeing is a dude that's got what it takes to be a champion. And sure enough, look at this dude. I mean, he's the reigning 170 pound champion, right? Nobody outside of Colby Covington has been able to make it look close, really. Now, has he fought ultra high level competition? No. Was I surprised how many people really thought Gilbert Burns was going to knock this guy out? Yeah, I was very surprised. Did Gilbert give it his best shot? Sure. But then did Kamaru out there and absolutely annihilate him round 2 and beyond? Oh, yes, he did. I think strategically, this is a very smart move for Kamaru. This is a business move, okay? There are way tougher fights out there. There are people who definitely deserve this fight more than Jorge Masvidal, but there aren't people out there who are going to sell more tickets, who by fighting are going to put more money in the bank account of Kamaru Usman than a Jorge Masvidal. And honestly, at this point in this sport, in this era, that's where we're at. Who's going to pay me the most to fight? Yeah. That's who I'm fighting. And when you're the champ, you hold the belt. You grant the that ability, right? You kind of get to pick and choose. For better or worse, that's where we are in this sport, Yeah. Early days of the UFC, you didn't get to choose the next challenger, right? But, guess what? The UFC's right there with Kamaru going, okay, we're in business to make the most money off you.
Exactly, yeah.
The person that makes us the most money for you to fight is Jorge Masvidal. So we have no problem with this matchup. Book it, right? I mean, Masvidal, albeit I think has kind of hurt his star potential in the last 6 months to a year.
Kind of.
I mean, yeah, right? But, he's a guy that definitely has an audience, definitely has a fan base. And we're going to run it again. And I'll be honest, I think that, Masvidal's a very dangerous dude. If you let Masvidal catch you, especially early, you'll have problems. At the same time, if Kamaru can go out there with his smothering style, wear out Masvidal, who, as we're speaking right now, is sitting at the drive-thru at McDonald's getting ready to, order up some Big Macs, some fries. He's just a guy. And what I'm getting at is, he can do that. Why can he do that? This guy's not a true welterweight. This is a lightweight that kind of gets to have a loose diet, show up, not even really showing any abs or anything. And at this point has built a star that he gets to walk right into undeserved rematches and challenge for UFC gold. So I guess I can't blame the guy. He's doing his thing. It's also part of the character at this point. It's also part of why he has that fan base. So, I guess it's a good fight. I think Kamaru should absolutely win. Kamaru's absolutely the heavy favorite. I expect it to be that way. Am I going to sit back and wait for some of my cohorts to put out the word that, the Jorge Masvidal at plus money, blah, 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 blah. This might be a real value bet. And do I hope that fan base goes, you know what? My boy, I'm believing the hype. I'm betting Masvidal. He gets it done. I have group chats right now where one of my friends, I'll definitely be betting the value on Jorge Masvidal. I'm like, please do. Let's get that money in. Let's sweeten up this number on Kamaru Usman, because I'm definitely looking to back my man Kamaru Usman in this spot. I feel like he rolls. We would be looking at a very strange situation, I think, for Masvidal to be able to pull this one off, even on a full training camp. What do you think, Al?
Something that'll be interesting to see here is that I bet you that a ton of casual money will come in on Jorge on fight week and on fight night.
Al, you know what I mean? Who do you think I was talking about, man?
Yeah. So especially because this fight is going to be with fans, So like, you know, and in Florida.
Right.
So
Which is
right.
another big factor on why Masvidal is getting this fight, right?
Yeah. And yeah, this will be the fight that shatters the myth. And like I was a Jorge Masvidal mark. Like I bet Masvidal when he beat Till.
So did I.
I was on Masvidal when he beat Askren, and
So was I.
everybody was on Askren. And even in the Diaz fight, I bet Jorge, but was like, my heart wants Nate to win, but I'm gonna bet Jorge.
Yeah,
And
Al, you just triggered a thought here. I have to go back and look because I'm not kidding you guys. So I'm gonna take a look at this right now. I'm looking at Jorge Masvidal's record because I am on a serious, outrageous streak with this guy. So okay, I'm not kidding. This goes all the way back to 2017. I was there live. I bet Jorge Masvidal as an underdog to beat Donald Cerrone. Right, only man in the building. It's Cowboy Cerrone's homecoming in Denver. I'm the only man in the crowd holding a Masvidal ticket. He goes out there, pretty much blows through Cowboy Cerrone. I'm celebrating. People are giving me dirty looks. It's I hate to say it. It's exactly the kind of stuff that I love, though, that I live for. So I cashed that one. I bet against him with Maya. He loses. I bet against him with Wonder Boy. He loses. I back him as the underdog against Till. Another pretty easy fight. He knocks out Till. I back him as a huge underdog against Askren. He wins that one. I back him against Nate Diaz, knowing it. I got him at like minus 145. I knew he was going to beat Nate Diaz. He beats Nate Diaz. And then I absolutely bet against him with Kamaru Usman. I can't miss when it comes to Masvidal. This dude is a money train, whether I bet with him or against him. And I'm looking to keep that streak alive. Kamaru Usman's my pick here. So, Al, before we get out of here, I do want to talk about our co-main that's kind of a sleeper on this card. Weili Zhang versus Rose Namajunas. What do you think of this fight before we wrap this up, man? I don't hear people talking about this. Are you with me on that?
yeah, this is a really interesting. This is going to be a really interesting situation for Weili Zhang fighting in Florida in a building with 18,000 American fans cheering for Rose. And it's just like, I think that this is going to be like the most hostile environment that she's ever been in. Yeah, this is going to be a lot for her to overcome. And I think, but that being said, Rose has never been, this most stable mentally as a fighter, right? She's been rattled a few times from things that have affected her outside of the cage. So this is a weird fight because I feel like the line is the way that it should be, but I also feel like that there's so many outside non-tangible factors that could end up being a big factor here because it's just so weird. It's gonna both of these. I feel like Zhang is so young and Rose is so she's so anxious that I feel like they're both going to be so they're going to have so much cage nerves. They're going to be so rattled in front of a sold out crowd in the first event with fans. Like this is such a hard fight to bet on because it's volatility out the window. You know what I mean? Like I feel like Zhang should win, but it's a dog or pass fight just because I feel like this is the one fight where there's so many intangible factors, like there's so many. It's like it's like NBA where it's just like it's all situational, and I think this is such a situational thing where you got to look at the fight week, you got to look at the the press conference, you got to look at the weigh-ins, you got to look at everything before you make the bet on this fight because it's more than just like looking at tape. You need to really like look into the eyes of the people that you're betting on for this one. But the other co-main, this one I think me and you are on the same side on with our girl who put Rose in that situation. And that was a fight where, Rose, you could have made an argument that Jessica Andrade won that fight. It was a pretty close fight. If you look at we've talked about this before off camera, that like if you look at both of their faces, Rose Namajunas, her face was destroyed in that fight, and Jessica Andrade looked, relatively all right, and Rose won that fight. And that obviously isn't a measure of who won or lost, but it was just it's nice to see that Jessica Andrade has gotten this spot against Valentina Shevchenko since losing that fight, because her dropping down in weight was probably, or moving up, sorry, was probably the best thing that she could have did. And I think she's live in this fight. that's without letting the cat out of the bag. I think she's live in this fight big time.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, Al. I think there's a reason why this is, the closest line Valentina fight we've seen by like, minus 800, like in the last 2 years. Valentina, when you see her at minus 1,000, you're like, oh, well, there's still some value here. You know what I mean? Like, she's just been such a dominant champ, right? So, it is an interesting matchup, and I tell you what, man, there's a path to victory here for Andrade. It's just, I think it's a matter of whether or not she's going to go out there and meticulously stick to a game plan that can execute it. Because I do feel like at times she's kind of like female Vittori. It's just pure aggression and pure bombs and swinging hard and just all that stuff, right? Whereas, what she needs to do is be the female Vittori we saw tonight, who repeatedly hits these takedowns. Yeah, man, I'm questioning Shevchenko, her ability to get up off her back. Jennifer Maia, don't get me wrong, big, strong, heavy. Andrade, a smaller fighter who, spent time even a division down below, but also spent time up a division even from 125. Started her UFC career as a very small 135er, but man, she's got a lot of strength. Like I said, I think this fight could be interesting. Still haven't made up my mind on it, but I'll put it like this. The odds makers, they're looking at it very similarly to me, and there's a reason why this fight's priced the way it is compared to a lot of Shevchenko spots we've seen. So that's a little bit of a look ahead. Al, should we wrap this up and get out of here?
Yeah, one last thing that I just wanted to touch on. It reminded me of it. Somebody asked for one of those Luque-like bets, and the bet is Beneil Dariush at UFC 262 against our boy Tony Ferguson. That's the bet. That's the bet.
What are we at right now? Give us a line on that, Al.
Dariush is minus 155.
Whoa, okay.
And I bet it. I bet it relatively heavily at minus 165.
Okay, so the money is coming in on Tony as it stands right now. That's interesting. Yeah, dude, I'm gonna have my eye on that one, because that is very, very intriguing, and I might be right there with you on that one, Al. Tony just does not seem to be that same guy. So, and Beneil's just been slept on, and yeah, okay. I'm not quite there with you yet, Al. I still got to put in the work, but I like it. I like you going out there and taking that shot. That's a juicy number, Al. I like that quite a bit. So, all right, folks. Al, tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, hit me up at Almac Odds on Twitter, and always all of our sports betting content, all of my sports betting content at sparksports.ca. And we'll be doing this show probably for some Bellators and some UFCs and some who knows, because we got the freedom to do what we want now.
Absolutely, no doubt. All right, and yeah, man, you can find me on Twitter. Yeah, if you really want to interact, I'm on Twitter like crazy, Instagram, all that stuff, and of course my channel here on YouTube, Bleed. Just search Bleed MMA and you will find it. Other than that, man, what is there left to do? I already got to get to work, dude. We got so much MMA. We got Bellator. We got UFC. We got ONE FC. We got ACA, dude. I'm betting on so much stuff all over the place. The return of PFL in a week, dude. It's going down, Al, and we are here to bring you that content, and we're going to be betting it up, stacking cash, making that money. At least that's the plan, ain't it, Al? All right, y'all. He's Al Mack. I'm Bleed. This was the results and recap. This was the MMA show. We are out of here.